and all are non-binary, using they, them pronouns. In an interview with reporter Steve Alquist, Brandy Tucker shared this story. Part of me wonders if there's a mandate to start getting rid of non-binary, trans, or LGBTQ plus teachers in readiness for federal mandates instead of protecting us. They can start getting rid of us because we're not tenured and you don't have to give a reason for dismissal if you're not tenured. On Friday, I was teaching math. It was Valentine's Day and the 100th day of school, the day before break. I got a call from my principal saying, I need you to come to my office. Someone's coming over to cover you. Click. I had no idea what it was about. I'm a union delegate, so I figured something had happened in the building and the principal needed to inform me. I went to the office and the principal started reading the letter. She said, the district has told me you're not allowed to ask questions. You should direct all your questions to your union. I was shocked. The principal then said she would give me some time. Then the principal left school for the rest of the day. The non-renewal means I cannot work with Providence schools starting next year. They expect me to finish out my contract this year. I've known other non-renewed teachers who leave their job because it's just too stressful. I spent the day off and on crying. It was not something I expected. I have good evaluations, I have good improvement, I teach math, and I am good at my job. I moved from California to Providence. The district paid to help me. They paid me a yearly stipend to continue teaching for them for 3 years. They paid a moving fee to come to Providence from a faraway place and a retainer fee basically for the last couple of years. I just got the final one this year. They paid extra money to have me. There's all this stuff about Providence being unable to keep good teachers. We currently have over 100 vacancies, and this letter says to find more qualified teacher as yet unidentified. Explain to me who is more qualified. Let's all rise now as we're willing and able to bear witness and sing number 1008. My parents looked at me in my crib and they said, what a good boy, what a smart boy, what a strong boy, or something like that, but probably in French. And they already had a boy. They had my older brother, who's 2.5 years my senior. And my mother really wanted a girl. So as we got older, my older brother would put on his little doeskin boots and go off to the construction job site with my father on Saturday mornings. And I would stay behind and spend the day cooking and cleaning with my mother. We would chat all day and we would lunch on tea and these little sandwiches cut into tiny little points. And it was until my sister was born. When I was 7, I started going to the job sites on Saturday. I'd also put on my little doeskin boots and go with my brother and my father with all the guys, and I found it really confusing. So 23 years ago, for reasons that I don't need to get into now, I rearranged my name so that my middle name, the name that I was given when I was assigned male at birth, became my first name. It's my father's name. Like my father, I could have anglicized it to be Denis, but I prefer the French pronunciation, the one that he gave up when he moved from Quebec to Connecticut, and that's Denis. I like it because in English it sounds more ambiguous. So all the time I get called Dennis, Denny. There's one person among you who even calls me Den all the time. The only person on earth who calls me Dan. It totally cracks me up, and it's absolutely fine. Whatever anyone calls me. Even Denise. I get called Denise a lot. So given these little tidbits of history and identity, you may wonder if I would call myself non-binary. I don't know. I can say that, like the vast majority of people, I don't fit neatly into the end of the binary that I was assigned to based on my plumbing. I'm probably a bit further from that end than 90% of men out there. I mean, I'm a dandy who sews. Look how I'm dressed. And I'm a builder who swears like a sailor. So a little of both. I know I like my body just the way it is. It's kind of thick and pretty hairy. I'm short. And I'm predisposed to move in ways that most people would call feminine. I also know that I am okay with any pronouns. He, they, even she. I don't think there's anything insulting about being equated with women or anything feminine. I'm very uncomfortable when I'm pressured into stating my pronouns, because when I say that I'm okay with he, she, or they, I'm often accused of mocking transgender people and the system that liberals have devised to protect them and show solidarity. The thing is that I really am okay with all the pronouns, and I don't appreciate being forced into having to describe my gender. Over the years, I've known a lot of people who have described themselves, their gender, and their attractions a whole bunch of different ways. They call themselves gay, lesbian, bisexual, pansexual, asexual, aromantic, transgender, transmasculine, transfeminine, non-binary, two-spirit, and so many other labels. I know one person who has identified as a straight woman, and then a lesbian, and then a straight man, and then a gay man, in that order. The thing is, it took a long time to figure out, though he was assigned female at birth, he was a dude who is physically attracted to other dudes. And it was confusing because it can be really hard to differentiate between our gender expression and our sexual orientation, because the old binary says that there are only two kinds of people. Girls who wear pink are submissive and cooperative and are attracted to boys, who wear blue are aggressive and competitive and are attracted to girls. Except that it really isn't that way, is it? We know that our character traits don't always align with society's expectations. Girls can be competitive and strong. Boys can be cooperative and delicate. In fact, when you think about it, most people don't conform to the norms 100%. You can be a real man and still love to cuddle your children. Or the femmiest woman can compete to the death. And people who define their orientation by what they are attracted to, which is usually, but not always, expressions of gender. So gender just isn't simple. It isn't a binary of two complementary opposites of physicality and attraction with no overlap. It's not like yin and yang. Each of us is different, even among people who don't conform to the stereotypes of the old false binary. Writer, performance artist, and activist Alok Vaid-Menon, in their book Beyond the Gender Binary, sums it up this way. Some gender non-conforming people are non-binary, and some are men and women. It depends on each person's experience. Two people can look similar and be completely different genders. Gender is not what people look like to each other. It is what we know ourselves to be. No one else should be able to tell you who you are. That's for you to decide. In other words, each of us determines our own gender. And we don't do it in a vacuum. We determine our gender in the context of culture. If most of our characteristics, interests, and mannerisms are labeled feminine, then we're likely to see ourselves as feminine. Or female, if they also happen to align with the expectations of the gender we were assigned at birth based on our plumbing. I know this is hard for a lot of folks to understand, especially when they comfortably identify completely as one of two sexes, one of two genders, and one of two orientations. Coming to understand all of this in my 40 years of adulthood has been a journey. And it's felt like a pretty low risk journey for me. thanks to the diversity of the people that I've known who've helped me learn more about not only them, but myself. They've all been much braver, sometimes more desperate than I've ever been. I tell you all of this because I want you to know that even for me, as much as I understand and appreciate these issues and honor the dignity of all people, using they and them and theirs as singular pronouns is really hard. It requires me to change my speech patterns, and worse, it requires me to speak in a way that I was taught was wrong. I love language. I really do. I want to speak clearly and correctly. So I have to keep reminding myself that language evolves. So here are some examples. Did you know that dictionaries now say that literally means literally and figuratively in a hyperbolic expression? Right? So when people say my head literally exploded, obviously it didn't literally explode, so that changed the meaning of literally to its opposite. Common and proper nouns, of course, turned into verbs all the time, like Googling, right? And I was gifted with a coffee maker. I is now used as the object of a sentence, as in, come and have coffee with Joe and I. It should be me, right? Like the grammarians among us know that should be me. It sounds so weird to me, and I get corrected all the time when I use me as the object. It amazes me, but even the grammatically finicky New Yorker magazine doesn't correct it. So I, as the object, is now considered correct. It's true. The choir's going, no, no. You know, and of course, in Romance languages, everything is gendered, right? So in French, chair is feminine, but notebook is masculine. I don't know why. It makes no sense. And in Spanish, victim is always feminine, even when the victim is a man. It says a lot, doesn't it? But in English, the only things assigned gender are animals, including humans. Linguistically, the male sex is masculine in gender and the female sex is feminine. Always. Linguistically. Even though we all know feminine men and masculine women, and that is considered masculine for men, and what is considered masculine for a male human is not masculine for a male seahorse. Like, we know these things. More odd, though, is that for centuries, masculine pronouns were always correct whenever referring to people in general or anyone of unknown gender. And the Reverend Dr. King always said things like, the true nature of a man, when he was talking about everyone back in the days when ladies and gentlemen roamed the earth. Ladies refer to the respectability of femininity, like the lady of the house or a lady in waiting. But women refer to the embodiment of femaleness, like a pregnant woman or working woman. Oddly, though, people would say cleaning lady, probably because they wanted to feel like they and their domestics weren't worlds apart economically. Calling a male-bodied person a gentleman was a way of acknowledging kindness and strength, or pretending to exist where it did not. And this all drove feminists up the wall during the 60s and 70s and 80s. They wanted to be called women so that females were associated with their physicality, not some capricious nobility for some. And they wanted parity in language as a way of dismantling the old dichotomy in which every woman is either a saint or a slut. So everyone started things like the true measure of a man or woman. And slowly everything changed. Spoken language changed, signs changed, like they went from gentlemen and ladies' rooms to men and women. The verbiage of laws and other documents changed. The UUA changed the language in everything from our bylaws to our hymns, from solely masculine to masculine and feminine. So we say things like, we would say things like, let each congregant know that he or she should, which was just long. You keep saying he or she over and over again. It's long and it sounds weird. So across American culture, eventually things changed again, and we started saying things like, let each congregant know that they should. So you see what happened there? Like 40 years ago, we started using they as a singular pronoun. And hardly anyone noticed it for decades. Using they as a singular pronoun became grammatically acceptable, even correct, until some non-binary folks started requesting that we use they and them to refer to them in the singular. So people who support them as people and believe in their worth and dignity and would even fight to the death for gender expression for non-binaries have had a hard time adjusting. As I've said, I've had a hard time adjusting. But now we're at an impasse. Transgender and gender non-binary people are being targeted. Fully and completely. The new regime is literally writing them out of government, writing them out of history. Every day there's more news of trans folk literally being erased from visibility. People like Brandy, M, and Sam in the Providence School District, people like my friends Otto and Ember and Linda, and all the other trans and non-binary people we love are literally under attack. And this is just the beginning. The thing is that I know you all support these folks. I know that you uphold our values and want to support them. You want them to thrive as they live their authentic lives. And the simplest way you can support trans and non-binary people is to call them by the names that they've chosen. Don't dead name them, and call them by the pronouns they prefer. I know it's hard, but this is not the time to be afraid of change or to look away because they and them don't feel grammatically correct or natural. Now is the time for us to just buck up and change our behavior. You know, when seatbelts became legally required and it was on the horizon that we were going to have to start using them or get tickets, I figured I got to start this right now. And I'd always put my seatbelt on, except for when I forgot. And whenever I remembered, the next time I stopped, I'd put the seatbelt on wherever I was in the drive. Even if I was pulling into the driveway and I realized I hadn't on the whole time, I would put the thing on before taking it off. The thing is that when you mess up, even with something as personal and heartfelt as pronouns, it's no big deal. It's like the seatbelt. You just correct yourself and keep going wherever you are in the process. And I promise you that if you make the effort, if you find yourself saying she when you should be saying they, just correct yourself and keep going, and it will be appreciated every single time. That small effort may not save anyone's life, but it can make them feel a lot more welcome and cared for in a world where so many people want them to just disappear. So I'd like to end now with hymn number 121 in the gray hymnal. It's a song called We'll Build a Land. The melody is magic in being seen by people who understand. It gives you permission to keep going. In that spirit, may we all be seen for exactly who we are, and may we keep going together. We extinguish this chalice, but not as light. Please rise now as you're willing and able for our closing song, Carry the Flame. And, you know, in the interest of virology, let's keep our hands to ourselves, shall we?
Always a good message.
What am I doing wrong that I can't hear the music? It's all garbled.
There.
Anybody else have problems with the music?
It was, it was okay. It was not, world
It
class,
was
but it was
totally,
okay with me. It wasn't garbled.
yeah, mine is all garbled. Doing
Oh,
something wrong.
What a,
Kathy Swink, do you have an answer for me?
huh? I was so blown away by the service. I thought it was so wonderful, and I would love to have to be able to send a recording of it to Eli. She would feel so. They would support us, you know.
Well, it'll be on YouTube in a couple of days.
Okay, that's what I'll do.
You can, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they are on YouTube? You have to get them on YouTube?
Yep. It comes
Not on the
up on
website?
YouTube, probably 2 or 3 days, you'll see it.
Oh, okay.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
kind of magical
That's
to
why
me.
we,
How
Yeah.
how it gets from the cloud, from my computer to the cloud, and from the cloud to the YouTube. It's just kind of magical.
That
Truly.
is magic.
Oh,
My nephew is trans, and I'm so worried for him. It's very scary stuff.
it is. It's a scary time. I know.
Yeah.
And it's especially hard to talk about him because when I talk about him in the past, I talk about her
Yeah,
because he was her then.
right.
But now he's he. And I have it really firm in my head that he's a he now.
Yeah.
But it's harder when I talk about him when he was a little girl. It's
Yeah.
just but it's really
Right.
I get it's good to know that if you make a mistake, you just fix it and go on.
Eli says whenever I mess up, which is at least half the time, and say she instead of they say, "It's okay, Mom, just keep trying."
Yours is
Good.
Eli
Yeah.
too? Mine is an Eli.
Hmm?
Mine is an Eli who was an Elizabeth before. My nephew.
Oh, yes, really?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, that's interesting. Where
No.
did he live?
Massachusetts. Well, his home is in Vermont, but he teaches in Massachusetts.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
I
Yeah,
loved
that was very
Rev Denise.
that was very upsetting to hear about the Providence teachers.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, and
I
at
was
the
like,
same
oh my
time,
gosh.
the very same week, the Attorney General and the Superintendent of Providence Schools stood and said how they're protecting the students, that they're not going to allow bad things to happen, no discrimination to students. And then they
Oh.
let go these made no sense at all.
No, it doesn't.
They were opposed to the letting those teachers go. And so was the
Yes.
head of the school committee, not the school committee, the head of town council. Evidently, the
Yeah,
school committee meeting must have been quite a thing, when
yeah, terrible.
Comes down to fear and
Terrible.
money.
Well,
I mean, the
hope
Providence
she-
Town Council said no, and the school committee overrode them,
the head
No,
of the council,
or the superintendent.
support of the teachers and opposed to these things.
yeah,
I mean, they had, when you read about it in that Steve Alquist thing, each of these teachers had wonderful, wonderful resumes and had
right.
great recommendations. I mean, there was no reason at all to get rid of these teachers. These were
No.
good
Yeah.
teachers.
Other than that, they
Yeah.
were on probation and they could get rid of them.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Ah,
Yeah, tough time. You have to be really bold to be trans these days. You have to be really bold.
Yep.
yeah.
Strong people, yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Ugh.
and some of us are just back in, yeah. I'm just, same, I am female, so. That's been good to know all kinds of people. It's been really a pleasure. I think so.
Yep. Yep.
I have a friend who was involved with a family for 50 years. And one of the young people in that family came out as trans and wanted to be referred to as they and them. And my friend had trouble with it. But, and so when she was talking to me and kept referring to them as she and her, I would correct her. And finally, she said, well, but I'm talking to you. It doesn't matter what I use when I'm talking to you. But it does, because it reflected the way she was thinking.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that she wasn't trying to think of them as non-binary. So unfortunately, that family has kicked her out of the family.
Oh,
Oh, no.
Then she's
Oh, yeah.
not welcome there
oh,
because she's not willing to try.
Yeah,
I
that's
remember in
terrible.
the early 70s that it was difficult to change language to, not refer to women in any kind of way other than as women, no
Right.
girls,
Miss,
Ladies.
any of, and at first I thought it wasn't important. And then I really got to the point where it was like, it was really, really important to change the language. If you didn't change the language, you didn't change the thinking.
right.
Exactly.
And,
Huh.
yeah, and that worked. I mean, we really got rid of the girl thing and the honey and the sweetie and all that other stuff, or to a certain extent, but pretty
Come back,
worked pretty well.
Florida, and it's still alive and
Yeah.
well down there. Girl and all.
In the South.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Which is where I am now. I'm in Florida.
Oh, nice.
Florida,
Yeah.
you are?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where in Florida?
Orlando.
Oh,
Nice.
And the weather is lovely.
yes.
Oh, it's horrific here. It's terrible.
Well, I'm going back to
Freezing.
Caroline's back to Florida again, my granddaughter. So
Mm.
she works for Disney, also part-time. Interestingly, it's worked out really good for her to work for Disney. She walked in there was and so they were going. She wasn't sure they went off for a job, but then the lady asked her, "Well, she had been a Girl Scout." Yes, Caroline, Girl Scout for her entire growing up. She loved being a Girl Scout. And like I said, she had
Good.
the whole thing of it. She had done it all. And she was very happy. So the lady looked her over and they talked about it a little bit, and she was thrilled to death that Caroline had been a Girl Scout because her daughter had also been a Girl Scout. So Caroline got the job. So she fixes the,
That's great.
you know, the rides they have? Caroline's the one that fixes them.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool.
yeah,
That's awesome.
need to keep those rides safe.
That's right.
Yep, then
Definitely.
whatever you are, she's a girl, so okay. She helps out people and she's really a nice person. Her
Mhm.
her younger sister wants to be an engineer.
Awesome.
Well,
My
speaking of the Girl Scouts, I think Girl Scouts have been encouraging uh, young girls to be strong and to be not necessarily girly.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the Boy Scouts have not been so accepting and have lost a lot of people that way.
Listen,
Right.
the Girl Scouts are a whole different set of a whole
Yeah.
total.
Yeah, whole different. Yeah.
I
I
have
was,
that's for the Girl Scouts. That's how I found out about really what was going on in the 50s with the civil rights movement, the beginning of it, because it turns out I went to a Girl Scout camp where my leaders were these wonderful young Black women who taught us all the songs, and we were reading Martin Luther
Right.
King and we were having a ball.
that's great.
I mean,
nice.
I was hooked, right? Totally
That's great.
That's
hooked.
great. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how normal that was, though. That wasn't my Girl Scout experience, but
No,
but no, well, no, because I mean, I was in a basically white area, and you know, everybody was white, but I didn't go to Girl Scout camp either, so can't
oh,
can't
well,
say.
our Girl Scout district was Wilmington and Newark, and Wilmington, Delaware had a huge Black population.
Mhm, mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's
Right.
how all my tent mates were Black girls, and my my uh, counselors and everything. It was completely
That's
mind
great.
That's great. Yeah.
My
I'm
experience.
gonna sign off. See you guys.
Bye,
Okay.
Sue.
Good to see you,
Yeah.
Susan.
Bye.
One
Good
more
to see you.
say to you guys. Yes.
Yeah, I need to go too.
See you later.
Yeah.
All right. All righty.
All take
Have
care.
have a
Talk and
have a good day, everybody.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm
You
having
too.
a nice day, so this is good, and still have the
Bye,
boyfriend.
Sharon.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much, Kat.
Bye.
Uh,
I'll talk to you later because I need I can't get out of the car. That's why I can't come to church.
Uh,
So if you can get somebody to get me and my walker out, then I can go to church.
as I said, I'm in Florida, so I can't help you.
That's good. Well, then I will try coming next week and I'll do some phone calls to see if anybody else can just, like I said, all I can do is pull me out of the car. That's it.
Yep.
Walker in front of me because I got a new walker is what happened. And my friend Tony and I have figured out different ways to get in and out of it. We're getting there.
Okay.
So I'll talk to you later. Take care.
Okay. Take it easy.
wait,
Bye.
Bye-bye.
should I hit the end button here?
Okay.